Okay, so that's all done. Okay, all right. We had a little bit of a blip. So I'm either going to say this is part two of A Sacrifice of a Lifetime because I don't know what's happened there. I really don't know what's happened. Anyway, I will continue. I think it's part two. I think I got um, cut off. And this is part two of Sac Taff. All right. I don't even know what I'm going to call this. But I'm just going to say for now, part two. So basically, in my videos, for the last few videos, I've shared at the beginning that the book that I'm reading to you and the issues the character goes through are, the story is based on a true story, okay? And I can relate to the main character, Rebecca, but her thinking and some of the actions she has taken, I don't, how can I say? My thinking is different now. So I don't agree with the actions and certain things that she has gone through. I don't agree with. So I don't want to be reading the book and then, someone, listens to it and says, oh, wow, she's gone through it. So, why can't I? That's not what I'm trying to do here, because I'm sharing and it's leading on to something. And then as it leads on to something, I'm sort of going to make more sense. But I don't agree with certain decisions she's made. I would have done things completely different. Now my mindset is different. The way I was brought up in a Christian household where we were taught, to have certain values and to sort of, date at a reasonable age. And the whole point of dating is to decide if you want to get engaged and then married. And then once married, that's when you have your intimacy. That's when, you have, you're intimate together as man and wife. But you'll see the character Rebecca didn't do things that way. And a lot of people don't do things that way. But you'll see, but Rebecca's not a lot of people. Because I've shared before how I'm doing a podcast. No, I've shared how I want to do another podcast about something else. And then that person says, yeah, a lot of people. And I said, well, no, I'm not a lot of people. I know that a lot of people do, but I'm sharing from my point of view, and I'm sharing and how the way that she lived, how that does affect you when you get older, as you get older, and when you choose to marry as well. It can affect that as well. So that's why it makes sense. It makes more sense to just date, get engaged when you feel you want to, if you feel it's the right. And I shouldn't be saying you feel, and to marry before you get into before you have an intimate relationship with that person. So I just wanted to say, look how long it's taken me to say that. But I don't want to read the book because I know that I received a lot of comments regarding the book, and some were negative because they couldn't understand why I'd written the book. That's why I'm doing the podcast. I've only got a few minutes left now on this before it will be the end of the podcast. But I'll share a little bit more, and then I'll organise myself a lot better for next time so that it flows nicely. But basically, she's got to that point where she's been intimate with the man that she went out with, and she's sort of thinking, what if this has happened? What if that had happened? What if this has happened? What would she do? She got pregnant and so on and so forth. Where would she live? And then there was another scenario. She sometimes thought about the alternative, which was abortion and termination. For that was what Sean, that's the young man that she went out with, he spoke about. he did say if anything happened, that's what he would give her money for her to do that. Yeah. So these were his exact words. It sounded so easy to say and so easy to do. And she thought of an insect or wasp perhaps that comes into your home and tries to sting you. Human beings kill wasps and even bees that make honey, or beautiful butterflies if they become pests. Was that so different before it is formed and while it is still only developing a cell or cells which had appeared in a woman's womb by accident, especially if, as Rebecca's own case, she was not ready for a baby? In such circumstances, termination might be the best answer. On the other hand, this was a complicated issue. To abort a child was totally different from killing an insect. In real life, it was a serious matter that could not be decided lightly. And it's so horrible. I mean, she's only 15 and a half. And she's thinking about that. It's horrible. So can you imagine if she never decided to get into the relationship, not even a relationship, decides to go out with Sean? She wouldn't be thinking these thoughts. Now it's disrupting her teenage mind because she chose to make that decision. That's what I'm trying to put across. She made that decision, a huge decision, right, to be intimate with Sean. And now she's thinking, about what would happen if she got pregnant, and then Sean's talking about her termination, all of that, and she's only 15 and a half, and I'm really sort of shuddering thinking about it. Do you know what I mean? Because I know that when you think differently and you live your life differently, the amount of good fruit that comes from it. But because she's chosen and she chose to make that decision, this is what's coming from it, and it's very disheartening to have to be thinking about that, and obviously she's thinking about it because she's a little bit worried that she may be, she may have got pregnant. So that's why she's thinking, what if, and you sort of look back at that and you sort of think, wow, for such a young girl to be thinking like that, sitting there in her living room in her parents' home listening to some music, and then all of a sudden her mind goes towards thinking like that. It's horrible. I mean, even reading it with you, it sort of takes you back, and it's only because of how my mindset has changed and how I've learned from mistakes and wrong decisions. I think that's why it's taking me back, and it's disturbing me. It's disturbing me. Thinking that I was that 15 and a half year old young girl sitting in my parents' home thinking this. And I'm so grateful. And I mean, even while I'm reading the book, I'm so grateful that I had a way of thinking that when I did something and I feel like it hasn't benefited me, nothing good has come from it. Rebecca in the character would say, no, I'm not gonna get into that. With Sean, as soon as he told her that he was married, it was like, well, no. She even convicted him by saying, what about your wife? How do you feel she would feel if you were doing this and this, that, and and that was that. So we've come to that. She's come to that point, that conclusion, that because she's made that decision to be intimate, she's now concerned about what if something, what would happen if she did get pregnant. She's not even thinking about what her parents would say. She's not thinking about that. She's thinking about what would happen. What would she do if it happened? Where would she live? And things like that. So we've got up to that point where this is what's on Rebecca's mind at the moment after breaking up with Sean, even though she didn't go out with him. I think she must have gone out on like 4 or 5 dates, and now this is what she's thinking. So it's just basically sharing with you that how decisions can have a great impact and not a very positive impact on our lives. And that's why, there are certain, that's why, especially sort of like in the Christian, I don't even want to say religion, but that's how they, and I'm not going to have long to talk now, but that's basically, that's why the emphasis is to date at a reasonable age, get married, and then get intimate. So you don't have to go through things like this.